Hey there, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to logically deconstruct toxic communication and turn it into actionable solutions. If you've ever felt like your conversations just constantly derail into arguments, or like you're literally walking on eggshells around certain people, you are definitely in the right place. We're going to break down the exact psychological dynamics at play here, and we'll give you a structured toolkit to finally reclaim your boundaries.
So let me ask you something. Have you ever felt totally trapped into saying yes? Like you agreed to something you really didn't want to do just because saying no felt way too stressful, or you were scared of the reaction you'd get? Man, we've all been there. That feeling of being trapped is pretty much the ultimate pain point in toxic communication. And you know what happens when we feel trapped? We usually react pretty poorly. James Richardson really hit the nail on the head when he said defensiveness is a self-perpetuating cycle. Basically, when we feel backed into a corner, our immediate knee-jerk reaction is to just get defensive. But as we'll see today, that defensiveness completely shuts down any kind of effective communication. It replaces a healthy dialogue with this totally unproductive cycle of attacks, avoidance, and threats.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at toxic communication traps. Then, escaping the fog. Next up, the assertiveness advantage, followed by the DESC framework, and finally, taking back your power.
All right, part 1, toxic communication traps. Let's figure out exactly what these traps look like so we can actually avoid them.
So let's get on the same page here. We are talking about emotional blackmail. It's basically a form of manipulation where people close to us threaten to punish us if we don't do what they want. The underlying message is literally just, if you don't behave the way I want you to, you're gonna suffer. It is incredibly toxic because it uses the trust and closeness of the relationship against you.
And this illustrates perfectly what that aggressive behavior actually looks and feels like in action. You've got one person's demands completely bulldozing the other person's fundamental rights. It leaves the other person totally caught off guard and instantly on the defensive. It's just a deeply uncomfortable dynamic where the whole power balance is shattered. According to psychotherapist Susan Forward, there are actually 4 specific types of these blackmailers to watch out for. First up, you've got your punishers. They're the most direct, just explicitly throwing out negative consequences if you cross them. Second, there are self-punishers. These folks threaten to hurt themselves or ruin their own lives if you don't comply, which unfairly makes you the only responsible adult in the room. Third are the sufferers. Oh man, these are the ultimate guilt trippers. They make you feel terrible if you don't magically know exactly what they need. And finally, tantalizers. They dangle something amazing, like love or a promotion, but only if you jump through a million of their hoops first. Moving right along to section 2, escaping the fog. So, why do we actually cave to these blackmailers? Well, it turns out it's all about getting completely lost in the fog.
Manipulators are pros at distorting reality, and they do it by using 3 specific emotions against us. F is for fear. You know, we're scared to cross them or terrified of the conflict that saying no is going to cause. O is for obligation. They constantly remind us of everything they've done for us, testing our sense of duty to make us feel indebted. And G is for guilt. They literally manufacture this completely undeserved self-blame, making us feel like terrible people just for setting a normal boundary. It's this exact fog that keeps us compliant.
And when we're lost in that FOG, just overwhelmed by fear, obligation, and guilt, our knee-jerk reaction often looks exactly like this. We bottle up that tension and then just lash out with pure, unhelpful defensiveness. But remember what we talked about earlier? Defensiveness just feeds right back into that toxic cycle.
Communication expert Galen Emanuele points out a massive contrast here. Defensiveness is all about making the conversation entirely about you. It leads straight to arguing, and up go the walls. He asked this amazing question: is there any part of this situation that will be made better by me being defensive? Actually, scratch that. The answer is always no. Curiosity, on the other hand, means asking genuine questions and really trying to see their perspective. Approaching a conflict with curiosity instead of defensiveness is exactly how we start to break the cycle.
All right, section 3, the assertiveness advantage. It's time to shift from diagnosing the problem to introducing your ultimate communication weapon.
So the absolutely crucial point here is understanding what assertiveness actually means. It's standing up for your own rights, sure, but doing it with total respect for the rights of the other person. You're not being a bully, you're not being a doormat, you're just relaying your needs in a straightforward, honest way while keeping the dialogue open and respectful. Now, what's really interesting about this is how perfectly it visualizes that balance. If you only care about your own needs, you're being aggressive. If you only care about their needs, you're being passive. Assertiveness is that sweet spot right in the middle. It recognizes that, hey, we both have an equal right to express ourselves here.
Just look at the physical difference. On one side, passive behavior is all hunched over, full of self-doubt and internal stress, constantly letting boundaries get crossed. But assertive behavior? It's steady eye contact, comfortable posture, facing the issue head-on. It literally changes your confidence when you stop just taking what comes and start asserting your own value in the conversation.
Okay, Section 4, the DESC framework. You might be wondering, how do I actually build that confident posture? Well, here is a fantastic, highly structured toolkit to help you put this into practice every single day.
Let's see how this builds. It's a formula developed by Sharon and Gordon Bauer called the DESC script. DESC. First, D. Describe the situation objectively. Just the facts, no mind reading or assumed motives. Second, E. Express how you feel using I statements like I feel frustrated instead of attacking with you statements. Third, S. Specify the exact behavior or outcome you want moving forward. And finally, C. Consequences. Lay out what the positive results will be if they actually meet your request.
Let's put that into perspective with a direct contrast. A poor script is just, "What's with you? You're so lazy." Okay, that's going to trigger defensiveness instantly and attack their character. But a DESC script, it sounds more like, "I feel irritated and frustrated when I'm waiting on your work. I needed to finish my part. I'd like to have your work by Friday, and if you meet that deadline, we won't get a penalty." See the difference? It is calm, objective, factual, and honestly incredibly hard to argue with.
Which brings us to Section 5, taking back your power. Now that you've got the DESC toolkit, let's talk about deploying it in the heat of the moment when an emotional blackmailer is really turning up the pressure.
When you first feel that pressure mounting, when you can literally feel the fog rolling in, you need a quick circuit breaker. Enter the SOS method. Step 1. Stop. Do not answer immediately. Give yourself some physical or emotional distance. Step 2. Observe. Take a step back and look at what is actually happening. Are they using fear, obligation, or guilt? And step 3. Strategize. Plan your response. Maybe cue up that DESC script, and only then follow through.
And if you need a second to buy time for your SOS method, try these lifesaver phrases from Galen Emanuele. Tell me more about your experience. I want to better understand where you're coming from. I hear what you're saying. These phrases are pure magic. They disarm the other person, keep your own defenses down, prevent the conflict from escalating, and most importantly, they give you a moment to breathe and formulate a strong, assertive response.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one big thought. How are you going to use the DESC script to reclaim your boundaries in your next difficult conversation? You know the traps of emotional blackmail now, you know how to clear the fog, and you have a concrete, structured toolkit to communicate assertively. The power is totally back in your hands. Thank you so much for learning with us today, and I seriously challenge you to put these psychological tools to work in your real-world relationships.